Welcome to Vibe Check, the podcast that supports a spiritual life experience where we lead with intuition and make the follow through a normal part of life. I'm your host, Megan, an author and intuitive healer that's helping guiding people to find their joy in life.
Hey everyone, welcome to this first video episode of Vibe Check, the podcast. I was just taking some deep breaths and setting my intention, and it came up.
Hey, welcome to
I'm like, what do I want my intention
Check,
for this podcast?
the
to be?
podcast.
And
Doing something
my
different today,
intention
doing
came
the
up. I'm like,
first
I want to be
video.
brave
I've been trying
by
to talk
doing something
myself out of
different.
this.
I've been
all
doing
morning
brave
long,
stuff all week long.
But then I thought about
But I
the
also want to be
weekend
really
that I had. And I'm like, no, do you
authentic.
know what? It's time to do something yet
and
again
real
very, very
about
brave.
like what's
Today I'm
happening.
going to talk about
And this morning,
my
I've been
next
trying
book
to
that's
talk
coming
myself out of
something
doing
that's
this
a little
video
bit
podcast,
different.
but because
But
it's
of
been
course,
coming up
there's
for a long
always
time.
the lead up to the
I've been
story
looking for the right
about
equipment.
how it
I've been
happened.
looking to make it harder
Let's
than
try
it
this
needs
again.
to be. And after the week that I've had and the weekend that I've had, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, just do the thing. So at the time of recording, we are currently in Mercury retrograde, which I love, as you know, from those previous podcasts that I have recorded. And it's always working in the favor, but it has been a Mercury retrograde of Mercury retrogrades for me. And
Hey
all
everyone,
these
welcome to
exes
this
have been
first
coming
video
out. I've
episode
sold my
of
old wedding
Vibe Check,
ring.
the
I've
podcast.
I was
found
just
boxes
breaths
of
and setting
stuff
my
from people in my
intention, and it came
past
up
that I had to
that,
burn
like, what do
and
I
let
want my
go
intention
of.
for this podcast to be?
And
Yeah, I think I've
my
heard
intention came up, I'm
probably
like, I
from
wanna be
almost
brave
every
by doing
ex-boyfriend
something
I've
different.
had,
I've been
which
doing
is
brave stuff
wild
all week long.
statistically and
But I also want to be
logistically
really
and
authentic
energetically. And it's just been this whole
and
week
real
of
about like what's
closing
happening.
loops and
And this
closing these
morning I've been
ties
trying to
and
talk
making
myself out of
room for
doing this
something
video
really great.
podcast, but because it's
And
been coming up for a long time.
I'm a single
I've
parent
been looking
with
for
two
the right
kids,
equipment. I've
and
been looking to make it harder than it
I
needs
have
to
my
be.
kids full time.
And
And
after
after
the week that I've had and the weekend that I've had, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, just
and
do the
this
thing.
weekend they were away
So
with my mom. They went on an adventure
at the time
and
of
camping.
recording, we are currently in
And I had a whole
Mercury
weekend to myself,
retrograde, which
which doesn't
I
happen very
love, as
often.
you know from those previous
So
podcasts
on
that
Friday,
I've
I did a
recorded.
whole bunch of
And
work.
it's always
It
working
was
in the
being
favor,
able
but it has
to
been a
catch
Mercury
up on some
retrograde
writing
of
for the
Mercury
next book that
retrogrades
I'm
for
going to be
me,
able to
and
release.
all these exes
And
have been coming
doing
out.
a
I've
ton of
sold my old
meditation. I've
wedding
been
ring.
meditating
I've
like almost
found
2 hours every
boxes of
day,
stuff
trying
from
to
people in
get
my
through this
past
week
that I had to burn and let
from
go
the roller
of.
coaster ride of what this week has been.
And
Yeah, I think I've heard
and
probably
I
from almost
signed up
every
for a workout
ex-boyfriend I've
class that
had,
was brand
which
new
is
to me.
wild.
And I could feel myself
Statistically and
talking myself out of
logistically
it right away. I'm
and
like, oh, if I do
energetically.
this,
And it's just
then
been this
I'll
whole
and it's this
week
time,
of
then I'll go.
closing loops
And
and
if
closing
I
these ties
do
and
this
making
first
room
because
for
that's more
something really
important,
great.
and then I'll do this, and then I'll go. And like, oh, well, it must be like an
I'm a
expert
single
class.
parent
Oh, I better
with
check.
2 kids, and
I could find myself
I
and
have my
feel
kids full time
myself trying to talk
is
myself out of
the
something
shortest way to tell that
that
story.
is new.
And this weekend they were
I
away
remember
with
even the
my
first time
mom.
I
They
signed
went
up
on
for
an
the gym,
adventure.
just
They
getting
went
through the
camping.
door was
And I had
super
a whole
hard on
weekend
the
to
nervous
myself, which
system,
doesn't
and
happen
I
very
wanted to
often.
throw up in the parking lot going
So on
there.
Friday, I did a whole bunch of
Which
work. It
for
was being able to
like
catch up on some
adult, like
writing for the
I'm
next book that
41
I'm going
years
to be
old,
able
and
to
I
release,
have to talk myself into
and
going to the gym,
doing a ton
especially
of
someone who has like
meditation.
their
I've been
anxiety
meditating
under control
like
and
one
understand where
almost
it's
2
coming
hours
from.
every day.
That it
Trying to
still
get through
happens
this
and life
week.
still happens, and that
Roller
we're
coaster
putting
ride of what
ourselves
this
out
week
of
has
our
been.
comfort zones and trying all these new
And
things,
I
and your
signed up
body
for a workout
adjusts to
class that
that
was
and it
brand new to me.
calibrates to that.
And I could feel
So
myself talking myself out of it right
the
away. I'm like,
last time
oh,
I
if I
tried to
do this,
talk myself out of
then
going to this class, I
and
checked
it's this
in,
time, then I'll go.
like on the app where you book
And
your
if
spot in.
I
I'm like, okay, well,
do
it must
this
be like an
first, because
expert
that's more
class. And I looked and
important,
like,
and I'll
it's
do
not,
this,
it's
and
an
then I'll go.
everyone
And I'm like,
class.
oh,
I'm
well,
like,
it
there's
must be
5
like an
minutes before-
expert
like I have
class.
no
Oh, I
reason
better
not
check.
to do this.
And
Like I've run out
I
of stuff.
just,
I
can
can
find
heart,
myself,
get it together.
feel myself
You're-
trying to talk myself out of something.
It's gonna be fun.
That is
What's
new.
your intention?
Was to try
And
something new and to
I
have some
remember
fun.
even
It
the
was a
first
good
time I signed
workout.
up
I
for
did a
the
bungee
gym,
class,
just getting through the door
which
was super hard on the nervous system,
entertaining,
and
a
I wanted
really
to
good
throw up in the
workout.
parking lot going there.
And then I felt so good afterwards
which for
that I did a set of free
like
weights, and then was able to go in the
like
pool and a
I'm
hot tub and just
41
really take
years
my
old,
time,
and I have to talk myself
putting
into
energy
going
back
to the
in
gym,
after all that
especially someone who
energy
has like
coming
their
back out.
anxiety under
And
control and
then the
understand
next
where it's
day I
coming
was
from.
able to sleep
That it
in
still
and read.
happens and life still happens.
Big loud truck
And
that's
that we're
going by.
putting
I'm
ourselves out
so
of our
excited
comfort
to
zones and
have
trying
like
all these new
a
things, and your
podcast
body
booth
adjusts
soon.
to that and it calibrates to
And
that.
so
I watched
the
my
last
niece
time
for
I
the
tried to
afternoon,
talk
and then I
myself out
went
of
out
going
to a
to this
baseball
class, I
game with
checked
my
in
girlfriends, which is something
like
that
on
we
the app
haven't.
where you
I
book your
haven't
spot
been to a
in. I'm like,
baseball
okay, well, it
game
must be
in
like an
probably
expert class. And I looked and
like
like, it's
8
not. It's an
years.
everyone class. I'm like, there's 5 minutes Like,
Like, I have
this
no
yeah.
reason not to
It's
do this.
probably
Like,
been
I've
8
run out of
years. It's
something
something
like
totally out of the
parks,
norm
get
for
it
all of us.
together.
All of us haven't
You're
been for, like, such a long time or had
It's
never
gonna be
gone
fun.
before.
What's your intention?
We
Was to
ended up
try
having,
something
like,
new
this
and to have some
magical
fun. It was
night.
a good
Ended up
workout. I
going
did a
out
bungee class.
afterwards, like, meeting all these
which
new people, and it
was
just got me thinking
entertaining
about
and a really good
how
workout.
when
And then
you
I felt
do
so good
something different and when
afterwards
you're
that
doing
I did a
something
set
new,
of
you
free
have to
weights
train
and
your
then was able to
body
go in the
to
pool.
be
And a hot tub and
excited
just
about
really take
those
my time,
experiences, and how
putting
anxiety
energy back
and
in after all that
excitement
energy kind of went
really
back out.
are the
And
same
then the next
feeling,
day I was
just
able
when you know
to
the
sleep
outcome
in and
of.
read.
Like if I knew that I was going to enjoy
Big
the
loud truck
class,
that's
I'd be
going
excited about it
by.
instead
I'm
of
so
anxious.
excited to
Anxious, I'm
have
like, I don't
like
feel safe.
a
I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know what's
podcast
going to
booth
happen.
soon.
But I can also, I've learned how to
And
speak to my anxiety and see how that's
I watched
going
my niece for the
and how
afternoon,
that's
and
just
then I
been
went out to a
applicable
baseball game with
for
my girlfriends, which is something that
really
we
all
haven't
coming to a
I
head for
haven't
this
been to a
week.
baseball
That
game
if
in
I'm
probably
anxious about something, it's
like
because I
8
don't know what the
years.
outcome's going to be
Like hearing
versus
this
being
yeah,
excited
it's
about it,
probably been
knowing
8
what the
years of
outcome's going to
something
be, and
totally out of the norm
giving
for all
myself
of us. All of
permission
us
to
haven't been
enjoy.
for like such a long time
I'm
or had
giving
never gone
myself
before.
permission to enjoy all these new
We
things
ended
and
up
enjoy
having like
these new
this magical
experiences, and it's
night. Ended
attracting
up
new
going out
things into my life and
afterwards,
attracting
like
new
meeting all these new
experiences.
people, and it
And
just got me
it's
thinking
easier
about
and easier to
how
handle each
when
time.
you
Just
do
thinking about
something
how I tried to
different and
talk
when you're
myself out
doing
of that
something
workout
new,
class
you
on
have to train
Friday.
your body
Then this
to be
morning,
excited
when
about those
I'm trying to talk
experiences,
myself out of
and how
recording a video
anxiety
podcast for the first
and
time because I don't have the right
excitement
equipment, I don't have the
really
right lighting, and I
are
don't
the
have the
same
right
feeling.
la 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 la
Just when you know
la.
the
I'm
outcome
like,
of. Like if I
the
knew that
worst
I was
case
going to enjoy the
scenario
class, I'd be
is that
excited
I can
about it instead
record
of
this on
anxious.
my
Anxious, I'm
iPhone
like, I don't feel
wearing
safe. I don't know what the
AirPods
outcome is. I
with
don't know
my
what's
hair
going
in
to
a messy
happen.
bun, but I can
No
also,
makeup
I've learned how
on
to
and my
speak to my anxiety
pajamas.
and see how that's
And
going
I
and how that's just been
will
applicable
probably do that
for
one day
really
for
all
sure.
coming to a head
Because
for
I think
this
one of the best
week.
parts about
That
having a
if I'm
podcast is not
anxious
having
about
to
something,
get all
it's
gussied
because I
up for
don't know what the
it. You
outcome's
just
going to
record it
be
from the couch in your
versus
living
being
room
excited about it,
with
knowing
holding
what
a
the
mic.
outcome's going to be, and all, giving myself permission to enjoy
And
it.
but the thing is like I
I'm
gave
giving
myself
myself
permission
permission
to
to
be able
enjoy
to
all
do
these new
that.
things and enjoy
Like
these
if
new experiences, and
I
it's
was willing
attracting
to
new
do
things into
that.
my life and attracting
I'm
new
like, okay, but like
experiences.
what do I
And
truly want to do?
it's easier and
Like,
easier to
like
handle each
putting
time. Because
like
thinking about
my
how I tried to
eyebrows
talk myself out of
and
that workout class on
some
Friday,
mascara on only takes
then
5
this
minutes.
morning when
I'm like, well,
I'm
then I
trying to
might as well
talk
just brush
myself
my
out of recording
hair.
a
I'm like, well, I
video
might as well just
podcast
curl
for the
it. That
first
only
time
really
because I
takes
don't have
5
the
minutes
right
too.
equipment, I
Listen
don't
to
have the
this
right lighting, and I
great
don't
music
have the
and
right
song an
la
album
la
while
la la
I am doing
la.
it.
I'm like, oh, like
The
I wanted to
worst
wear that
case
shirt to the baseball
scenario
game is that I can record
but I
this on my
didn't.
iPhone
Well, what if
wearing
I were doing the
AirPods
podcast? That'd be okay
with
because
my
I'll just
hair
be
in a
sitting on
messy
my
bun,
couch, so
no
it's more
makeup
comfortable for
on,
me to
and my
wear. I'm like, oh, I really
pajamas.
like that necklace, and this is
And
how it
I
snowballs, and you can talk yourself
will
into
probably do
doing
that
these really
one
great
day
things
for
by
sure
just giving yourself
because I think one of the best
permission.
parts
I
about
think to
having a
start for
podcast
where
is
you
not having
are.
to get all gussied
You're
up
like,
for
I
it.
don't
You
have
just
to be
record it from the
perfect in
couch in
order
your
to
living
try new
room,
things, and I don't have
holding a
to
mic,
know how to be an expert in something in
but the
order
thing
to
is like I
achieve a
gave myself
result. I
permission
can
to
give
be
myself
able to do that.
permission
Like
to
if
do the
I
things
was
that I
willing
wanted
to
to
do
do
that.
as I am in
I'm
that
like, okay, but like
moment, and then be
what do
able
I
to
truly
use
want to do?
those experiences and
Like,
use
like
that growth
putting
to be able to
like
look
my
back on my
eyebrows
life and
and see my evolution and my
some
growth. And
mascara
if
on
you're a
only
human
takes 5
like
minutes. I'm like, well, then
design
I might as well just brush my
Chiquita,
hair. I'm like, well, I might as well
I'm
just curl
a
it. That only
3-5
really takes 5
generator, which
minutes
means
to
my
listen to
whole
this
life is all
great music and
about
song and album while I
learning
am doing
through
it.
mistakes and
I'm like, oh, like
experiences
I've
and
never, I want
sharing
to
the
wear that shirt
result
to the
of
baseball
both of
game,
them to
but I
the world.
didn't. Well, what if
And
I were
if
doing the podcast?
I
That'd be
have
okay
to
because I'll
follow
just be
the
sitting
things
on
that
my
make me
couch, so
happy
it's more
and
comfortable for
bring
me
me
to wear.
joy.
I'm like, oh,
Not
I really
that
like
I'm
that necklace,
doing
and this
for the
is
sake of other
how
people,
it
not
snowballs,
things
and
that
you
I'm
can talk
doing
yourself into doing these
to make
really
other
great
people more
things
comfortable, which
by
has
just
been a
giving
huge
yourself
lesson for me
permission. I
in
think to start for where you are.
over like the spring
Feel like
and the summer.
I don't have to be perfect in order to try new
So a
things,
very
and I
short
don't
story, very
have to
long, is that my
know how to
next book's coming out.
be an expert in something in
And
order
this
to
is
achieve
what's
a
really pushed
result.
me
I
outside
can
the
give
edge of
myself
my comfort
permission
zone is this book,
to do
because
the things
my
that I
first
wanted to
book,
do as I am in that
Letters to a Lover
moment,
I Never
and then
Had,
be able to
is a
use
mark of
those
poetry.
experiences and use that
It's
growth
a
to be able
collection that I
to look
started
back on my
writing,
life
trying to
and see my
deal
evolution and my growth. And
and
if you're a human like
feel my
design
feelings
Chiquita,
and really
I'm
separate
a
my thoughts
3-5
and my
generator, which
feelings
means that
about a
my
man that I
whole
had met
life is all
that
about
felt very much
learning
like my
through
soulmate and still
mistakes and
believe that he
experiences and
is
sharing the
one
result
of
of
them
both
for
of
sure.
them
My
to
experience
the
through
world.
that,
And
knowing this,
being
I have to follow
super
the things that make me happy,
kind of witchy, I
and
guess,
bring me
and
joy. Not
knowing that
that
he
I'm
was like
doing
that
it for the sake of
too,
other
but
people,
he
not
didn't really
things
know
that I'm
that or
doing
express that, and this
to make other
connection
people
that
more
you have
comfortable,
with
which has been a huge
somebody,
lesson for me.
even though you're
In
not maybe able to take that connection to the
over
level
like the
that you
spring
want it
and the
to, but you
summer.
know is there.
And that was my first work of
So, a
poetry.
very
And
short
looking
story, very
back on it,
long,
I
is that
love
my
it.
next book's coming
My
out.
last name has changed,
And this is what's
so
really
much
pushed me
about the
outside
back of
the
the
edge of
book
my comfort
and like
zone
my
is this
bio
book,
isn't correct
because my first
anymore,
book
but I'm proud of
to
this.
a
This
lover
was
I
just
never
me
had
laying in my
is
bed
a mark of
writing the
poetry.
words that were coming in
It's
through
a
my heart, into
collection
my
that I
head, out of
started
my
writing
hand
trying to
before I fell
deal
asleep every night. And
and
before I knew it, I had a book and I wrote this thing
feel
in a
my
month and then
feelings
published it in
and
3. And it
really
was
separate my
such an
thoughts and my
experience that I
feelings
would
about a man that I
never,
had met
even though
that
so much of
felt
it,
very
like
much
knowing
like my
now
soulmate
how
and
it's
still
all shaken
believe that
out, I
he
wouldn't change
is.
it for a bit. One of them for
And
sure.
then
My
I wrote my
experience
second
through
book
that,
to my
knowing
lovers.
this,
So
being
it's being able
super
to complete some
kind of witchy, I
experiences.
guess, and knowing that
But
he
this
was like
guy
that too,
in this
but
book
he didn't really know
also
that or
meets somebody
express that. And
else
this
who
connection that
was
you
a
have with
Horcrux,
somebody,
essentially, from a
even though
past
you're
life
not
that I
maybe
had
able to
to
take
complete
that
some
connection to
cycles
the
with,
level that you want it to, but you
and
know
my
it's there.
experience
And
through
that was
that.
my first
And
work
same
of poetry.
thing.
And looking
The
back on
stuff
it,
on
I
the
love it.
back of the
My
book and my
last name
bio
has
might not
changed
necessarily be right. This is
so much
something that I
about the
did
back of the book
entirely by
and like my
myself
bio isn't
and
correct
with very
anymore,
little
but
support,
I'm
and it's
proud of
definitely
this. This
not
was just
perfect,
me laying in
but
my
there are
bed
some poems
writing
in here
the
that are
words that were coming in through my
bangers.
heart,
And
into my
I
head,
remember
out of
like
my hand
my personal
before I fell
copies of
asleep every
these
night. And
have
before I
my
knew it,
favorites
I had a
flagged in
book and I
them,
wrote this
and
thing in
this
a
thing's
month
just
and then
riddled with it
published it in
because this
3.
is
And it was
where
such
my
an
writing grew. I'm
experience
like,
that
I
I
started
started
to
to impress
impress
myself
even
here
though so
and put
much of
myself,
it out of the
like
comfort
knowing
zone this
now
way.
how it's all shaken
And I
out,
think
I
my
wouldn't change
favorite
it
part
for a
about
bit.
this book is
And then I
the
wrote my second book to my
where
lovers.
the
So it's being able
alignment
to complete
is
some
for
experiences
the writing. But this
that
guy
if it's
in
left
this
edge
book
aligned,
also meets
it's
somebody
about one
else
man.
who
But if it's
was
center
a
edge
Horcrux,
aligned,
essentially, from a past life that I
like
had
this
to complete
one,
some cycles with.
it's about somebody else.
And my
And it's just these
experience through that.
nuances and
And
me
same thing.
exploring
The stuff
more
on
about who I
the
was as a
back
poet.
of the
And really
book in
just
my bio might not
owning
necessarily be right. This
the
is something that I did
word of
entirely by
poet in my
myself
life and being able to live my
and
life and
with
experience through
very
that way.
little support. And it's
Then,
definitely not perfect.
only
But
6
there are
weeks
some poems
ago,
in
I
here
came
that
out
are
with a third and
bangers.
final
And
book
I
of
remember like
that.
of that
My
series
personal
of my
copies of these
poetry,
have my favorites flagged in
losing one of
them.
my best
And this thing's
friends,
just riddled with it
losing
because this is where my writing
this
grew. I'm like,
guy
I started to
and my
impress myself
lover,
here and put
and
myself
losing
out of
my
the comfort
business
zone this
all at the
way.
same time
And I think my
or
favorite
in very
part about
short
this book
order
in having
is
to navigate the
the
pain and the loss of that and
where
really allowing myself
the
to
alignment
experience
is
grief in a way.
for
I
the
don't want to
writing,
talk about how these
that
are
if
different
it's left edge
sizes.
aligned,
That
it's
was
about one man.
100% the
But if
3-5
it's
mistake on
center
my
edge
part.
aligned,
I will never do it again.
like
I'm
this
very
one,
excited one day
it's
in the
about somebody
future to be
else.
picked up by a
And it's just
traditional
these
publishing house
nuances in me
and they can
exploring
republish everything
more
in the
about
same
who I
size
was
in
as
a
a poet,
box
and
set.
really just
That's
owning
my goal in life.
the
But being able to
word
have
of
this come
poet
out
in my
6 weeks
life and
ago
being able to live my
and
life and experience through that way.
seeing how I've
Then,
separated it and
only
being
what,
able
6 weeks
to
ago, I came up with a
say my
third and
side of the
final
story
book
with
of that
of that
everything,
series of my
and
poetry,
feeling
very
losing one of my best
fierce in
friends,
some of the words that I have
losing
to say, even though my friends have reassured me
this
that they're
guy
definitely
and
not
my
as fierce as I
lover,
think they are.
and
But being
losing
able
my
to own
business
all
all
sides
at
of
the
the
same
story
time,
and being able to
or in
put all
very
of that in
short
words and
order,
having
and
this
having to
healing
navigate the
was
pain and the
incredible. And
loss
it
of
felt
that,
like
and
such a beautiful
really
closure and
allowing
chapter
myself
of my life.
to
Experience
and I'm
grief
so
in a
proud
way.
of this
I
one.
don't
I'm
want
so
to
proud
talk
of all
about
of
how
them.
these
They're
are
all
different
little babies.
but this was
Sizes.
my third
That
installment
was 100%
of
the
this
3-5
set,
mistake on
and I
my
vowed
part.
to
Never
I will
write
never do it
about
again.
that guy ever
I'm
again.
very
So
excited one day in the
thank you
future
for
to
your
be picked up
patience.
by a
But
traditional publishing
we're not
house
doing that
and they
anymore.
can republish
Moving
everything
onward.
in the
And
same
that's why it's
size
called
in a
one
box
last time.
set. That's my goal in life.
And then
But being
I
able to
had
have
this
this come out
moment
6 weeks ago
while I was
and
publishing this
seeing
book, because
how
every
I've
release of a
separated
book
it and being
comes
able
with
to
um, the
say my
emotions
side of the
of
story
essentially
with
giving birth to something.
everything
I've carried this
and
for such a long time. I've
feeling
been growing it,
very
nurturing
fierce
it,
in
and
some of the
taking
words that
care
I
of
have to
it, and
say,
working in
even though my
partnership with
friends
my
have
editor
reassured me
for
that
it
they're definitely
to be
not
able
as
to
fierce
create
as I think
this
they are. But being able to
work of
own all
art
sides of the
for the world
story
to
and
experience.
being
But when
able to
you're
put all of
releasing
that
it,
in
it
words and
comes up
having
with
this healing
all
was
sorts of
incredible.
emotions
And it
come
felt
up
like such a beautiful
with it, that
closure and
you're so
chapter of my
excited,
life.
and then you get really nervous, and then
And I'm
you're
so proud of this
unsure,
one.
and you
I'm
have
so
to think
proud
of
of
all the
all of
worst case
them. They're all
scenarios, but you
little
also have to
babies.
adjust for all the
But
best
this
case
is my third
scenarios.
installment
And
of while I
this
was
set,
doing
and
that,
I
I
vowed
really
to
came to the
never write
conclusion
about
that
that guy ever
even
again. So
though my past
thank
year
you
in
for
life
your
hasn't
patience.
necessarily
But
worked out to the
we're not
degree and the
doing that
level that I've
anymore.
wanted it to,
Moving
I'm
onward.
still so proud of
That's why it's
myself for
called One
being able
Last
to
Time.
try something that if I didn't,
And
I feel I'm
then
getting emotional about
I
it.
had this moment
I feel like I would have
while I
regret
was publishing
for the rest of my
this
life.
book, because every
And
release of a
in
book
that
comes with
moment and in that
the
day and having that
emotions of
realization,
essentially giving birth to
I
something. I've carried
also
this
for such a long time. I've been
really
growing it and
felt
nurturing it
how
and
I
taking
need
care of it
to
and working in
embody
partnership with my editor
more
for it
and lead more
to be
with
able
my
to
own
create
heart
this of that energy of a
work
writer.
of
That
art
this isn't
for the
about
world to
putting
experience.
out
But when you're
a
releasing
work
it,
of
it comes up
poetry
with
once a year.
all
This
sorts of
is
emotions come
really
up
truly
with
embodying
it, that
this
you're
experience
so
of
excited,
being
and
a
then you get
writer
really
and of
nervous,
being
and
an
then you're
energy healer, and
unsure,
how do I
and
want to
you have to think
approach
of all
my
the worst
life
case scenarios, but you
like
also
that.
have to
Like it's
adjust for all the
time to
best
take
case
things to the next
scenarios.
level because what I'm doing
And
right
while I
now
was doing
hasn't
that, I
felt like
really
it's
came to the
been
conclusion
working to the
that
degree that
even
I
though my past
know
year
that
in
it
life hasn't
will, and I
necessarily
know that
worked
it
out
can, and I
to
know
the
that I'm
degree and the
destined
level that I've
for.
wanted it to, I'm still
I
so
sat
proud
about
of
any of the
myself for being
experiences
able
I've having
to,
try
although I wish I
something
didn't have to have
that if
them,
I didn't,
but I
I'm getting
also
emotional about
don't
it. Like it's necessarily,
I feel like I would
I'm
have
not going to
regret
regret having any of them
for the rest of my
either.
life.
And when
And
I thought
in
about how I
that
wanted to live my life as a
moment and in
writer,
that day and
that
having
I
that
was looking
realization,
at
I also
who I aspire to
really felt
and
how
who
I
I get
need
excited about
to
seeing when I'm
embody
on social media, and
more
really the only
and
people that I
lead more
do
with my own heart
follow on social
of that
media
energy of a
actively,
writer and
that this
consume
isn't
all of
about
their
putting
content and
out
look for them
a work
deliberately
of
and
poetry
intentionally
once a
because they
year.
are so
This is
inspiring.
really
Is
truly embodying this
there's
experience
2
of
or 3
being a writer
artists,
and of being an energy healer,
like
and how do
musicians
I
that I
want to approach my
follow.
life like
There's
that. Like
a
it's time
painter
to
that I
take things to
follow,
the
and
next
there's a
level
money coach
because
that I
what I'm
follow.
doing right now
And I can put all
hasn't
their
felt
links
like
in
it's
the show
been
notes so that you can
working
go and
to the
explore
degree
them
that I
for that.
know that
But
it will, and I know that
they
it can, and I know that I'm destined for.
pump out content
I sad about any of the experiences I'm having
consistently.
a
Like
little.
these
I wish I didn't have
motherfuckers
to
are
have
putting
them,
out shit
but I also don't think
like
it's necessarily.
once a month,
I'm not going to
once a
regret
week,
having
all the
any of them
time.
either.
They never
And when I thought
stop.
about how I wanted to live
And
my
it's
life
not,
as
and
a
I mean, like,
writer,
it's not,
that I
I was
was
just like, they're work of
looking
shit. It's all
at
incredible work. And
who
it's amazing
I
to
aspire
see
to, how much
and
that
who I get
they
excited
like, they're
about
just so
seeing when I'm on social
consumed
media, and really
by
the only
their own
people that
work
I
and by
do
their own art
follow
that
on
they
social
almost can't
media
help but
actively
put out stuff
and consume
all
all
of
of
the
their
time.
content and look
And
for
I'm
them
like,
deliberately and
that's
intentionally because
like,
they
there's
are
a
so
reason that
inspiring.
these
Is
5 people
there's
that
2 or 3
I
artists,
aspire to and are
like musicians that
inspiring,
I follow.
like this is their common
There's
thread. They
a
don't ever
painter that I
stop.
follow,
And
and
it's
there's a
not in a
money
way
coach that I
that's
follow.
hustle based
And I
and
can put
driven
all
for the
their
numbers. And
links
maybe
in
at a
the show
time it
notes so that
wasn't,
you
but it's
can go and explore
because
them
they're
for
consistent.
that.
They
But
have like their own
they
personal goals. It's not about
pump out content. They want to help people. They
consistently.
want
Like
to
these
have
motherfuckers are
people have
putting
these
out shit.
experiences
Like they're just so driven by
like
their own art
once a
that they
month, once a
can
week,
and
all the time.
do. They never
Produce
stop.
that way,
And
even
it's not,
when
and I
they
mean,
also
like,
they all
it's
talk
not,
about
I
it,
was just like, they're
how
work of
they
shit.
might
It's
have some
all incredible
reservations and
work.
how they don't know
And it's
how it's going to be
amazing
received
to
and how they have to
see
take stuff that's
how
different.
much
They
that
allow themselves
they, like, they're
breaks,
just
and they
so
give themselves
consumed
they absolutely
by
give
their own
themselves
work,
breaks
and you
by their
see
own
that, and you
art
see
that
how
they
they
almost
live
can't
their
help
life is
but
through
put
their
out
art
stuff.
all of
I'm
the
like, they
time.
all do
And
this.
I'm
I'm like,
like,
why am I not
that's
doing this? And
like,
I was
there's a
looking at my
reason
laptop,
that
and I'm
these
like, I
5
have
people
enough
that
writing that
I
I've done
aspire
over the
to and
last
are
year that I
inspiring,
could put out
like
something
this is
once
their
a month.
common thread. They don't
No
ever
problem.
stop. And it's not in a way that's
Because even though
hustle
I've been
based
going
and
through all
driven
this
for the numbers.
tumultuous,
Maybe at
well,
a
it feels
time
very
it wasn't, but
tumultuous.
it's
I'm
because
doing my dark
they're
night of the soul
consistent. They
this year
have
of grief, but
like
also
their
like
own
this year of
personal
reckoning.
goals. It's not about
That they want
I've
to
still
help
been writing
people. They want
consistently through
to
this whole thing.
have
People have these experiences.
and
Like
that
they're
I
just
have all
so
these
driven by their
stories
own art that
that
they
if
can
I
and
were
do
to
die soon.
produce that way,
I would
even
be
when they also they
pissed
all
at
talk about
myself
it, how they
for
might have
not
some
putting these
reservations and
out
how
for
they
other
don't know
people
how
to
it's going to
enjoy,
be received and how they
whether
have to
they're
take
perfect
stuff
or
that's
not. Because I remember
different.
I went for lunch
They
with my
allow themselves
sister-in-laws,
breaks, and they give
and
themselves being
they
able to talk
absolutely give
about one of
themselves
the
breaks,
my
and you
next book
see
that's
that,
coming
and you see
out.
how they live their life is through
And
their
I'll do a
art.
separate podcast on that
I'm like, they
one
all
and
do
how
this.
that
And
all
like,
came
why
to
am I not
be
doing
because it's
this? And I
old,
was
old
looking at my
writing.
laptop, and I'm
And I'm
like,
like,
I
I'm
have
not writing for
enough
an
writing that
English
I've done
literature
over the
test
last year
these
that
aren't
I
going
could
to
put
be
out
graded
something. They're
once
not
a
going to be
month.
marked. They
No
don't have
problem.
to be perfect. They're not,
Because even though I've
like,
been
it's
going
not
through
my
all this
thesis.
tumultuous,
This is
well,
my
it feels very
art.
tumultuous,
And I want
undoing
it to
my
be
dark night of the
consumed and
soul
enjoyed by
this year of
people
grief, but
that
also like
think
this
year
they're
of
gonna
reckoning
enjoy it.
or not.
That
Remember,
I've still been
right? So it's
writing
like
consistently
I
through this whole thing,
can see
and
where
that
I
I
had
have all these
been talking
stories
myself out of a
that
life
that
if
I wanted, just like
I
that
were
class,
to
trying to make things
die
logistical.
soon,
Oh, if I do this,
I
then I'll
would
do
be
that, making these these
pissed at
mental and
myself
emotional and energetic
for not
transactions or
putting these out
deals,
for other
wanting to
people
get
to
this
enjoy,
result, whether they're
and
perfect or not.
not
Because I remember
achieving
I
it
went for lunch with my
versus
sister-in-laws,
and
this
being
feeling
able
and
to talk
intention
about one of
of
my
sending
next book that's coming
out and
out.
creating and putting out
And
art
I'll do a separate
because I
podcast
love
on
it,
that
because it's
one,
new,
and
because
how
it's
that all came
exciting,
to
because it
be,
feels
because
something
it's
that's
old
important to me
writing.
and that I hope people
And I'm
enjoy
like,
it.
I'm not writing for an English literature
With all
test.
that process, I was
These aren't
talking
going to be
to my
graded. They're
editor,
not
who's
going to
also
be
one of my best
marked.
friends.
They don't
which
have
I
to be
think is
perfect.
beautifully convenient
They're
for us to
not
plan.
like, it's not my
As
thesis.
energetic
This
beings,
is my art.
and
souls to have
and I
that.
want it to be
And I was telling her
consumed and
about the
enjoyed by
story about how
people
I went
that
to the
think they're gonna
mountains with 3
enjoy
other
it.
girlfriends one
Or
time.
not.
We had a weekend
Whatever.
away,
Right? So it's like
we all
I
had little kids. It's how we
can
all knew each other,
see
was through our
where I
children.
had been talking myself
And
out
we
of a
were
life
all
that I
at
wanted, just like that class.
times in
Trying
our
to make
lives
things
where you're
logistical.
so
Oh, if I do this,
overloaded
then
with
I'll do that.
logistics
Making these
that you forget who you
mental and
are,
emotional and
that
energetic
everybody's
transactions
just
or
trying to
deals,
survive.
wanting
We're
to get
trying to
this
find
result
some moments of
and
happiness and
not
joy,
achieving it,
not only
versus
for our children and for our
this
partners at the
feeling and
time, but
intention
also for
of sending
ourselves. So
out
this
and
weekend
creating
away
and putting
was,
out art because
we
I
stayed in
love
the
it,
hotel
because it's
room on the
new,
Friday
because it's
night, and
exciting,
laughed
because it
so
feels
hard that we
something that's
almost got
important to
kicked out
me and that I
playing
hope
Cards
people
Against
enjoy it.
Humanity after a couple bottles of wine. We woke up the
With
next
all that
day
process,
with
I was
faces that
talking
hurt
to
so
my
much from
editor, who's
laughing
also one of
so
my best
much,
friends,
and
which
just
I
being
think is
truly
beautifully
authentically
convenient
ourselves
for us
and
to
being
plan
accepted and celebrated for
as
that.
energetic beings.
Spending the
And
morning
souls
at the
to have
spa,
that.
nursing our
And I was telling her
hangover
about the
with
story about how
pedicures,
I
and
went to the
the other women
mountains
went
with
for
3
a
other
pedicure.
girlfriends one
I went and
time.
worked out.
We had a weekend
We met in this
away.
steam room
We
afterwards. We
all
all
had
had a
little kids. It's
massage,
how we
and
all
then we
knew
all
each
went
other,
back to
was
the
through our
hotel
children.
room to get ready
And we were
to have
all
a beautiful
at
dinner out at this
times
restaurant
in
that
our
was
lives where
difficult
you're
to get
so
reservations
overloaded with
at. It was like we
logistics
all look
that
so
you forget
good.
who you
Getting ready
are,
in a
that
group of women is
everybody's just trying
always
to
just an experience,
survive.
half the
We're trying to
experience itself,
find
I
some
think.
moments of happiness and
Being able to do
joy,
that, going
not only
for
for our children and for our
dinner
partners
and
at
then
the time,
ending
but
up
also
at this
for
bar
ourselves in a
so
small
this
town
weekend away
where we
was,
were away for the
we
weekend
stayed in the
in the
hotel room
mountains.
on the Friday
And
night
we'd
and
all
laughed so
definitely
hard
been
that we
having some
almost got kicked
cocktails,
out playing Cards
but we
Against
were
Humanity
all
after a couple bottles of
married at the
wine.
time.
We
I
woke
was
up
on
the
the
next
verge
day
of a
with faces
separation.
that
I
hurt so
was
much from
just
laughing so
in my
much
spiritual awakening,
and just being
had
truly
just realized a
authentically
few months
ourselves and
ago
being
about my
accepted and
psychic
celebrated for
mediumship
that.
abilities.
Spending the
It didn't have
morning at the
energetic
spa
boundaries.
nursing
I
our
was about to
hangover
learn
with
Reiki and
pedicures, and
take my meditation
the
teacher
other women
training.
went
It was
for a
very much in the
pedicure. I went and
beginning
worked
of
out.
this whole
We
life.
met in
And
this
we're at
steam
this
room
bar, and
afterwards.
we
We all
just
had a
had
massage, and
a
then we all went
night
back to
to
the
remember.
hotel
You know
room
those
to
nights when you go
get
out and they're
ready
not planned?
to have a
To
beautiful dinner
like your
out
intention
at
is
this
always
restaurant
just
that
to
was
have a
difficult to
good
get
time, but like there's no
reservations
like you're not
at.
going
It
out
was
for a
like we all look
birthday,
so
you're not
good.
going out
Getting ready
for
in a group of women
a
is
stag at,
always
like you're
just an
just
experience,
going
half
out
the
for a good
experience
time.
itself,
And
I
those are
think.
the nights that are
Being able to do that,
always the
going
best, where you meet the
for
most interesting
dinner
characters,
and then ending
where
up
you can
at
be
this
so
bar in
authentically
a small
yourselves with the
town
people around you
where
that
we
you
were
can't help but
away
be
for the weekend in the
magnetic. And
mountains.
we
And we'd
it
all
was such
definitely
a
been
good night.
having
It was
some
such a good night.
cocktails,
But
and
we
I
were
met this man at the
all
bar.
and I
Married
think
at the
he was
time.
probably a
I
bit
was on
younger
the
than
verge of
me.
a separation. I was
And
just in my spiritual
I
awakening.
honestly
Had
don't
just
really
realized a
remember
few months
even
ago
how we
about my
started
psychic and
talking.
mediumship abilities.
I
Probably
didn't have energetic
just through
boundaries.
like
I was about to
us
learn
being the
Reiki
four of
and
us women
take my
just being really
meditation teacher
goofy and
training.
silly
It
and
was
having
very
a good
much in the
time
beginning
after
of
too
this
many
whole
vodka
life. We were at this
paralyzers.
bar and we just had
But
a night
I
to
met
remember.
him,
You know those nights when you go
and
out and they're not
I had
planned?
had enough cocktails
To
and
like
had
your
not learned
intention is
about
always
energetic
just to have
boundaries
a
yet, but
good
I could
time, but like
feel
there's
how
no like you're not
much
going
this
out for
man
a
missed the
birthday, you're
ocean.
not going out
And I could
for
feel it
a stag at,
in
like you're
my
just
own
going out for a
body.
good time. And
And
those are the nights that are
because
always
I
the best,
have
where you
these
meet the most interesting
capabilities,
characters,
and
where you
because I
can
had
be
had
so
a little bit too much
authentically
tequila and
yourselves with the
vodka at
people
the
around you
time,
that you can't
I
help but
felt
be
brave enough to be
magnetic.
able to tell
And we
him
it
that
was
the
such a
ocean
good
missed
night. It
him
was such a good
too.
night.
And the look
And I
in that
met
man's
this man
eyes
at the
was
bar. And I
unreal.
think
And this
he
is
was
following
probably
up
a bit
probably a
younger
few
than me.
weekends of like going out with friends. They were trying to cheer
And
me up because it was in really dark
I
space.
honestly
And
don't
everybody
really
was trying to be
remember
very
even
supportive,
how
like,
we
let's go
started
out, let's get some
talking.
energy. But I just kept having
Probably
this habit of
just
ending
through
ending up having these
us
discussions
being the
with
4 of
people
us women
around
just being
me
really goofy and silly and
that
having a
made
good
everybody
time
cry
after
because it's
way
everything
too
that they've
many
been looking to
vodka
hear. They
paralyzers.
finally felt seen and heard. I'm like,
But
and then we
I
end up
met him,
at the crux
and
of this
I had
by
had enough
meeting this man,
cocktails and had
talking
not
to him
learned
about
about
the
energetic
ocean, and
boundaries
he was
yet,
telling
that I
me
could
how he was stuck
feel
in
how much
Canmore,
this man missed
which is
the
where we went for
ocean.
the weekend. It's a small
And I
mountain
could feel
town
it
here in the province that I live,
in my own
and
body, and
he was stuck there because he was
because
working
I
construction. And
have
he's from
these
the east coast of
capabilities
Canada, where
And
I have
because I
no
had had
idea,
a
I
little bit
don't
too much tequila
remember
and vodka
because
at
I
the
was
time,
intoxicated.
I felt brave enough to be
Those
able to tell
details are a little
him
fuzzy.
the ocean missed
That he
him
was from the
too.
East Coast,
And the look
he
in
was
that man's eyes
taller, he had
was
this
unreal.
like
And this is
great,
following up
juicy,
probably a
juicy
few
curls,
weekends of like going out with
dark
friends. They were trying to
hair.
cheer me up
He
because I was
had
in
blue
really
eyes that
dark
looked like the
space.
ocean,
And everybody
and
was
you
trying
could
to be
just
very
feel
supportive,
how
like, let's
much he
go
missed
out,
his
let's get some
home.
energy.
And
But I
him
just kept having this
having
habit of ending up having
us,
these
those
discussions
conversations where you
with
think you're
people
whispering,
around
but really
me
you're yelling in each other's ear
that
'cause
made
you're at a
everybody
bar.
cry because it's everything that they've been looking to
And
hear. Or they finally felt
just
seen and
asking
heard.
him
I'm
why
like,
he didn't want to
and
go
then we
back
end
and
up
why
at the
hadn't he gone
crux
back
of
and why did he
this
leave in the first
by
place,
meeting this man,
knowing
talking to him
that
about
his
the ocean,
intention
and he
probably
was
wasn't
telling me
really the
how
same
he
as
was
my
stuck in
intention for the
Canmore,
conversation.
which is where we went for the weekend. It's a small mountain town here in the province that I live.
But it's
And
having those
he was stuck there
faithful,
because he was
very
working
faded,
construction, and he's from the east
very
coast of
would
Canada,
feel like
where I have no
important
idea. I don't remember
pinnacles,
because I was
crossroads,
intoxicated.
markers. Those
As
details are a little
like those
fuzzy.
conversations are
But
life
he was from the East
changing.
Coast,
And I'm sure
he was
everybody's had one of
taller,
those
he
where
had
you
this
meet these
like
people, you're
great,
probably
juicy,
never going to
juicy
see them
curls,
again.
dark,
But you
dark
have these
hair. He
conversations
had
that
blue
like
eyes
change
that
a
looked like
course
the
of your life or
ocean,
have you think
and you could just
differently or
feel
have
how much he
you
missed his home.
compare things
And him
differently
having
and have you make
us,
different
those
decisions to put
conversations
you
where
on
you
a
think you're
different
whispering,
trajectory
but
of
really
life.
you're yelling in
And
each
even just
other's ear
saying
'cause you're at a
that,
bar.
I'm thinking about all these
And
conversations that I've had in my life that
just
are
asking
probably
him
all
why he
going to turn
didn't
into
want to
books
go back and
that
why hadn't he gone
have
back
me
and why
think
did he leave in the
differently
first
and
place, knowing
know
that his intention probably
myself in a
wasn't really
different
the same
way.
as my
But just
intention
not
for
for
the
myself, but for these
conversation.
people too. Because you hope that they also
But
feel
it's having those
that it was an impactful
faithful,
conversation. And
very
you feel it
faded,
was
very
a
would
mutually
feel like
reciprocated energy
important
of being
pinnacles,
glad that you had
crossroads,
met each other,
markers, glad
as
that you've had that
like those
conversation,
conversations
and
are life
thankful
changing.
for being able
And
to
I'm
be
sure
honest
everybody's
in the
had one
way
of those
because
where
it's so freeing when
meet
there's no
these people, you're
expectations of
probably
never
never
seeing
going to
that
see them
person
again.
again,
But you have these
or haven't had
conversations
anything
that
happen.
like change
Because
a
this man
course
knew
of your
that
life or
I
have you
was a
think
tourist
differently
in
or have
town.
you
He was only there
compare
for the
things
summer. This is like
differently
pre
and have you make
iPhone.
different decisions to put
They
you
must
on a
have
different
just been
trajectory
coming
of
out.
life. And even
I
just
don't think there
saying
was even
that,
camera
I'm
phones when we
thinking
out. This is
about
like
all these
over 10
conversations
years
that I've had in
ago.
my life that are probably all going to turn into books
Because when you've
that
been,
have me
what's the
think
evolution of like
differently
the
and
phones like that?
I'm just like
No,
thinking like
I don't remember
myself in a
carrying a
different
phone.
way, but just not for
Or if I
myself,
did,
but
like
for
I
these
definitely don't
people
remember
too.
having a
Because
touch screen with it, like
you
being able to
hope
take.
that they
Like we
also
don't have any
feel
pictures of that night.
that
Even
it
I
was an
don't think.
impactful conversation, and you feel it was. But when you have these
A
conversations
mutually
with these strangers, and
reciprocated
there's like you can
energy
feel that like
of
energetic pull to
being
somebody.
glad that you had
Not
met each
necessarily that it's
other,
always
glad that
romantic
you've had
because
that
it wasn't
conversation,
on my part. I
and
definitely feel
thankful
like it
for
wasn't
being able to
his.
be
This
honest
is
in
the
the way because it's
opportunity.
so freeing when there's no
But
expectations
when you
of
have that
never seeing that
energetic
person again
pull, that
or
it
haven't had
feels so
anything
important to be
happen.
able to
Because
follow
this
through
man
on
knew
it.
that I was a tourist in town, so here I
He was
was,
only
this drunk
there
baby
for the summer.
psychic,
This is like
talking to this man at the
pre-iPhone.
bar who was trapped working
They must
construction in
have
a mountain
just been
town.
coming out,
I
and
don't think there
us
was even
having this
camera phones when we were out. This is like
conversation
over 10 years
that
ago.
was life changing.
Like it's
And
only
then
been
having that, I'm like,
what's the evolution
all
of
I
like the
kept
phones
seeing
like
this
that?
picture in my head of a
I'm just like
boat.
thinking like
I don't
I'm
remember
like, what's with
carrying
the
a phone.
boat?
Like whose
Or
is
if I did,
that?
like
What
I
is
definitely
that?
don't
And
remember
then he's
having
like,
a
that's my
touch screen with
family
it,
boat.
like being able to take
That my family
we
boat.
don't have any
I'm
pictures like,
of
what's the
that
name
night
of the
even, I
boat?
don't
And he's
think.
the name's the Lucky Strike. And that's
But when you
the
have these conversations with these
largest,
strangers and there's
probably
like you
most
can
significant
feel
detail
that like
that I
energetic
remember
pull
about
to
my
somebody,
conversation with this
not
guy
necessarily that it's
is the
always
name of the boat.
romantic because it wasn't on my
Short
part.
story,
I
even
definitely
longer.
feel like
So
it
I'm
wasn't
telling my
his.
girlfriend and
This
my
is the
editor about this, and
opportunity.
she's like, "You have to write this
But
down. Like, this
when
is
you
a
have
great
that
book."
energetic
She's like, "Have you ever
pull,
tried to find them?
that
Like, let's
it
try to
feels
find
so
them."
important to be
So
able to
us
follow through
being
on
who
it.
we are, we whip out our phones. I'm
So
asking
here I was, this
ChatGPT, "How do
drunk
you
baby
find someone that
psychic,
worked in a
talking
town
to
10
this
years ago
man
in
at the bar who
construction?"
was
And all
trapped
you know
working
about this
construction in
guy,
a
or all
mountain
you can really
town.
remember is the name of his boat.
And us
She's
having
looking
this
on,
conversation
like doing
that
her level
was
of
life
research,
changing.
and you can
And then
find
having that, I'm like,
registered
all
vessels,
I
who their
kept seeing
owner
this
is.
picture in my head of a
You
boat.
can find them.
I'm
like, "What's with
I
the
found
boat?
the Lucky
Like,
Strike,
whose is
and I
that? What is
found
that?"
the
And he's
registered
like, "That's my
vessel.
family
I
boat.
found who owned it,
That my
and
family
then I wrote
boat."
a book
I'm
about
like,
it.
"What's the name of the boat?" And he's the
So
name's
this
the
is the
Lucky
book
Strike.
that's coming out on
And
Tuesday.
that's
the
A woman meets a man in a
largest,
bar on a ladies'
probably most
weekend away
significant
and has the most
detail
fateful
that I remember
conversation,
about my
then
conversation
leaves
with this
not even
guy
knowing his name.
is the name of the
I
boat.
might have known his name.
I don't actually remember if I short story
Even
do
longer.
or not. So I'm telling
This
my
is what's
girlfriend and my
interesting.
editor about this, and she's like,
So
"You
we
have
just
to
have this
write this down. Like,
conversation,
this
and
is
he's
a
like,
great
"Do you want to
book."
go home, or
She's
like,
like,
do you
"Have
want
you
to come
ever tried
outside
to
with me?" I'm
find
like,
them?
"No, I'm
Like,
going home
let's
with
try
my
to find
girlfriends."
them."
And
And
they're
they're
like,
so
"Bye,"
us
and then we just
being
left.
who
That
we
was the
are,
end of
we
it.
whip out our phones.
There's like zero
I'm
closure,
asking
which now
ChatGPT,
seems
how do you
really
find someone
mean.
that worked in
him.
a town 10 years ago in
So in the back of the
construction?
book it says,
And
now
all
10
you
years
know
later,
about
she's
this
trying to
guy, or all you can
find
really
him
remember is
to
the name
find
of
out
his
what happened
boat.
to him in this
She's
missed
looking
connection short
on,
story.
like, doing her level of research,
I
and you
found the
can
boat,
find registered vessels, who their owner is.
and then I wrote a book about it.
You can find them.
And the book's coming
I
out
found
on
the
August
Lucky
5th.
Strike. And
It's
I
a short
found the
story.
registered
It's a little
vessel.
appetizer.
And I found who owned it.
It's because the
And then I
story
wrote
isn't
a
done
book
yet.
about it. So this is the book that's coming out on Tuesday.
But I'm excited
A
for you to
woman
read
meets a
it.
man in a bar.
I'm
on a
excited
ladies'
for
weekend
you to
away and has the
see
most
this
faithful
transition of
conversation,
mine,
then leaves
from
not even knowing
writing
his name.
poetry to
I
writing
might have
short
known his name.
story.
I don't actually remember
The
if I
style of it,
do or not.
this work
This
of
is what's
fiction
interesting.
based on elements
So
of
we just have this
truth in my
conversation.
own
And he's
life.
like, "Do you want to go home, or like, do you want to come outside with me?" I'm like, "No, I'm going home
How
with my girlfriends."
fun
And they're like, "Bye,"
writing
and then we
can
just left.
be.
That was the end of it. There's like
How you
zero
can
closure,
have
which now
these
seems
elements
really
in your
mean to
life and
him.
turn them into something
So in the back of the book it
that
says,
can be
now 10
shared
years
with
later, she's trying to
others.
find him to find out what
It's
happened to him in this
oh
missed
man,
connection
you
short
guys,
story.
it's so good.
I can't wait.
But I
I cannot
found the
wait
boat,
for you guys to read this. It's available on Amazon.
and then I wrote a book about it.
You can get
And the
it
book's
for your
coming out
Kindle.
on
It's on
August
Kindle
5th.
Unlimited. It's a short
You
story.
can get it
It's
as
a
an
little
ebook. You
appetizer.
can get it as a paper copy
It's-
to put on your
'cause
shelves.
the story isn't done yet. But just know that this is an appetizer. Because I also kind
But
of
I'm
need your
excited
help.
for you to read it.
I would
I'm
love
excited
for you to see this
if you
transition of
know
mine from
bookshops
writing
on the East
poetry
Coast
to writing short
that I
story,
can the style
get
of
my
it,
book into
this
work of fiction
to
based on
have
elements of
people
truth
in that
my own
area
life,
read the story,
and then perhaps
how
somehow
fun
find this
writing can
guy
be,
to see what happened. To
how
see,
you can
it's like I
have
don't. There's
these
part of me I'm like,
elements in your
the
life
romantic
and
poet
turn
in
them
me
into
has the whole
something
Hallmark
that can
movie
be
already
shared with
planned out.
others.
I think would actually be a
It's
really great Hallmark movie.
oh man, you guys,
But
it's so good.
the
I can't
who I
wait.
am
I cannot
today
wait for you
because of
guys
this,
to read
I
this.
just want to know if you ended up
It's
going
available
home.
on Amazon.
If
You
I
can
just
get it
knew
for your
that he
Kindle.
had left
It's on
Canmore
Kindle
to
Unlimited.
go home,
You can
be
get
on
it
the
as an
boat, the
ebook.
Lucky
You
Strike.
can get it as a
I think you'll
paper
be
copy.
happy to put on your
So
shelves.
if you know of any East Coast bookshops,
but just know that
can
this is an
you
appetizer.
DM
DM
me
me on
because I also kind
Instagram
of need your
and
help.
make an e-poet.
I would love for
Or if you
you
can
to
send
if
me
you
a message
know
somehow, leave the
bookshops on the East
comment
Coast
for
that I
that. I want to
can
be able to get my book and just
get
my
couple,
book
like a couple
into
of the stores,
Nova
to
Scotia, have
Newfoundland,
people in that area read the
BI,
story,
just
and then
Brunswick, just
perhaps
getting it somewhere because
somehow
I don't.
find
Even though
this
I found the
guy
boat, I
to
haven't
see what
found him.
happened. To see, it's like I don't. There's part of me I'm like, the
I have this
romantic poet in
very
me
romantic
has the
idea
whole
that if I
Hallmark
can get
movie
my
already
books in
planned
the
out.
stores there,
I think would actually be a
maybe
really
one of
great
his
Hallmark
aunties
movie.
or maybe one of his
But
cousins will pick up the book because
the
it's the
who I
name of their
am
family
today
boat.
because of this,
And then
I
they'll read it and
just
they're
want to know if
like,
you ended up going home.
I think this book might be about you.
If I just knew that he had left Canmore to go home,
just to
be on the
find out
boat, the Lucky
if he
Strike,
ended up
I
going
think you'd be
home.
happy. So if you know of any
I
East
can't
Coast
wait for you to
bookshops,
read it.
can you
Thanks so much
DM
for
me
listening.
on Instagram and make an e-poet